Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. Joined in studio by the one and only Matt Boyer as we look back a little bit at the Broncos-Chiefs game and start to look forward to the Broncos-Chargers game. Matt, how are you?
Good. I don't know if I'm properly dressed. I've got big fashion shoes to fill with Benjamin Albright not being here, but I'm feeling good. Thawing out a little bit after this weekend.
No, I appreciate when you walked in, you weren't wearing the super tight jeans.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because that would have been just a little weird. I've been like, okay, look, I need you to be strong today, but it doesn't need to be weird.
I can't wait until Ben's back here to defend himself on what's going on.
There's nothing to defend. There's just really nothing to defend. All right, let's talk a little bit about kind of some big picture stuff. I think that'd be a good point here. 6 games into the season. Now, as we all know, fans will ride the roller coaster, right? I mean, every single game in, play out, doesn't really matter. They're going to ride the roller coaster. But the team oftentimes looks at these things from the 1,000-foot view of what can we improve on? We are the team that we are at this point, and we're not going to be able to quick fix this thing. So at 2-4, 6 games into the season, what do we know about this team, and specifically, what do they need to improve on in the short term?
Well, let's start first with the quarterback. Drew Lock came out after the game and said, hey, I've got to be better. I've got to get through my progressions better. I've got to, get back to practice and really fix a lot of things. So the quarterback, it begins and ends with the quarterback a lot of times, so that's first. But the one thing I do want to stress is the wide receivers, because Albert Okwuegbunam could not get a jersey before Noah Fant had gotten hurt.
Right.
The wide receiver, he was the leading wide receiver against the Chiefs. Tim Patrick, 3 catches for 44 yards. Deshaun Hamilton, 2 for 26. Hamler and Judy, each 2 catches apiece. The wide receiver group has to be better. Now, to be fair, Vic Fangio, in his media availability this week, said the passing game's an 11-man thing, and to be fair, he's right. It takes all 11 guys to make the passing game effective. But those wide receivers really have to get open and do a better job of making themselves available for Drew Lock.
Well, that is something that has to happen, because I was talking with Steve Atwater on yesterday's show about consistency, about building consistency on the offense. And I think that's a tough word when it comes to also mixing in youth. When you're the youngest football team in the league trying to build consistency. There's no excuses, though. You're paid professionals. You have to find a way. And you got another division game coming up here this weekend. And again, that offense seems to be finding consistency with Justin Herbert. What do the Broncos need to do, in your opinion, to find consistency?
I think they have to go with what works. I mean, running the football, they had 177 yards rushing in the against the Chiefs. Granted, it was with Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay had almost 100 yards rushing in the first half. Unfortunately, goes out with a concussion just before the half. I think that, one, you've got to run the ball effectively, which I think the Broncos can do. And I think, two, Pat Shurmur and Drew Lock have to kind of reevaluate things and say, okay, what's working for us and what isn't? If Drew Lock is having trouble with his progressions, how do we, get him to a point where he is making that second and third read consistently? Is it more just getting him comfortable on those quick hit passes to the flats, just kind of getting him into a rhythm? I don't get paid enough to make those decisions. However, I think those are just some of the things that might be able to get him into a bit of a rhythm and just kind of get him to, as he mentioned, that second and third progression.
I know it feels down for a lot of Broncos fans right now. But again, you still have 10 games left. So is it unreasonable, in your opinion, to expect this team, based on what we know about them right now, to do a 180 and perform really well against the Chargers and win that game?
I don't think so. I mean, you look at the Chargers and who they've played. The only team not to score 20 on the Chargers is the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Chargers can be scored on. Heck, the Jags put up 29 points against the Chargers on Sunday. So I think the Broncos, if you're going to rebound, this game kind of sets up nicely for it. And remember, last year, Drew Lock came off a Chiefs loss and won 2 straight games. So I think his ability to bounce back is there. But I think if you're going to bounce back, you've got to be able to do it against a decent team. And I think the Chargers are rounding into form as a decent team. Justin Herbert looks great.
Okay, so let's carry it a little further. So you have the Chargers, then you have the Falcons, and then you'll be halfway through the season with 8 games. Okay, you're 2-4 now. Let's set some goals. I mean, you say goal if you win the next 2 and you're 500 at that point. That would be a great goal. But let's go some goals on the field, some things you'd like to see. Let's start with the offense. What would be a goal of yours in the next 2 games to learn?
I think just kind of getting that passing game into form. We know that Tim Patrick is going to be day-to-day this week, so let's see if he makes it back to the starting lineup on Sunday. I think the passing game, you want that to round into form a little bit. You mentioned it. Finding ways to win, I think, is going to be the most important thing for this offense. If we always look at the quarter system for a season, right? So it's if the Broncos can win the next 2, that would put them at 3-1 for the second quarter of the season. And at 4-4, you would take that with especially the level of competition that they've had to play. But going back to the original question, I think the passing game has to round into form. You'd like to see, the young tight end, Albert Okwuegbunam, kind of continue to progress. I think there's just a lot of young pieces. Cushenberry along the offensive line, he's been penalized a little bit here early. I think you want to see your rookies take the next step because, as we've seen, injuries are really plaguing this team right now, and you're going to have to rely on those young guys the further and further we move into this year. On
the defensive side, you're going to be without Mike Purcell for the rest of the season, which is going to be significant for the run defense. What are some goals, though? I mean, I'd still like to see them be able to, especially getting Draymond and DeMarcus back, I'd still like them to see them be stout against the run. You're going to need to be able to do that against both those teams because you got Todd Gurley and Joshua Kelly coming up. So, I mean, and realistically, you're talking about the development of the secondary. I think that's all kind of goals. Anything specific, maybe get more turnovers?
Get more turnovers. I want to see Michael Ojemudia play a little bit more consistently. He's looked great in certain instances, but then he's kind of taken a couple steps back. I think we saw Bryce Callahan play extremely well against Tyreek Hill in the Chiefs game. But how about Malik Reed? Shades of former CSU alum Shaq Barrett.
Nice.
Just really having a nice stretch of games here, back-to-back games with 2 sacks. I think he can be that type of player for the Broncos going forward. So seeing him develop, seeing the pass rush continue to have success, I think are all things that I'm going to be looking forward to in this next quarter of the season.